Hello everyone, this is Ms. Ahmed, your English teacher. Today we'll take Read and Comprehend for Lesson 9. I want you to open your book, page 258 and 259, and follow up as you listen to the audio.
Read and comprehend. Target skill. Conclusions and generalizations. Sometimes an author expects readers to draw a conclusion or figure out a story detail that is not stated on their own. A generalization is a kind of conclusion that is true about something most of the time, but not always.
Okay, so our literary term that we're going to study today is conclusion and generalization. You are all familiar with the conclusion. Now, conclusion is when you get to guess or you infer throughout the whole text based on facts, based on details, you infer something or you infer a conclusion. You reach to a conclusion based on evidence. So, generalization, it's the same as conclusion, but it is based on evidence. On what sense? For example, if we say that this boy is wearing a heavy coat, so what do you guess from that? What do you infer from that? You infer that probably this boy is actually cold, or maybe it's snowing and freezing. So sometimes this generalization is correct, but sometimes it's not. We will see how throughout reading Dear Mr. Winston. Now, again, if I give you another example, he is yawning. This boy is yawning. So I infer that he's probably sleepy. He wants to sleep. Again, so this is the generalization. This is the conclusion that I reached throughout the whole sentence, that this boy is probably sleepy. But maybe it's not true. Maybe this boy is acting out to escape something. You never know. But generalization and conclusion is based on text evidence. You read the text and you try to draw a conclusion through the writer's own message. So you try to draw a reasonable judgment because you are looking for facts. So conclusion is true most of the time, but as we say, it's not always based on what you infer. Okay?
As you read Dear Mr. Winston, notice details and text evidence that can help you draw a reasonable conclusion about the story. Use a graphic organizer like this one to help you use details to draw a conclusion or support a generalization. Conclusion or generalization. Text evidence, text evidence.
Okay. So as you see in this graph, you have conclusion and generalization. You have text evidence, the facts, the details that are supported during reading the text. Okay? Notably, you need to ask yourself questions throughout reading any piece of writing. That will help you more to make better infer, to know and to guess what is probably the message that the writer wants to convey.
Target strategy. Question. Asking yourself questions such as, how did this happen, or why did this happen, can help you understand a story. You can ask questions before you read, as you read, and after you read. As you read Dear Mr. Winston, use the question strategy to draw conclusions about the narrator's attitude and feelings.
Okay. So the main character that we're going to study about today in this unit is Kara. Kara is a girl who's writing a letter. We'll come to this later, but I'm just giving you a brief introduction. And she says that she's sorry. Kara's sorry. So I want you to infer whether she is really sorry or she's just saying that she's sorry or she's forced to say that she's sorry. We will have to say and mention your own opinion while reading Dear Mr. Winston. Now, the base highlighted big title of this unit is research. Now, I want you to think, how do people research? If I want you to do a research, what would you do? Where would you go? You have to think of that. Now think of it as you listen.
View the topic. Research. When you do research, you look for information about a topic that interests you. You can look for information in nonfiction books, in newspapers, and on the internet. Many students begin a research project by visiting the library. Interviewing experts on a subject is another good way to learn about a topic. Sometimes research doesn't go as planned, however. In Dear Mr. Winston, a student's research takes an unexpected turn.
Okay, so as I was saying that a research is the big topic of our unit, I would want you to make a research as a homework, but first let's understand how we do it. So how do you usually do a research? Of course, you go to the library, and I told you more than once that long time ago, before having the internet, people get to just go to the library, check books. We have two type of books. The ones that trade books is like the one that you get to borrow from the library, borrowed like you get to take it for a little while and then you give it back when you finish it. And we have some very big books that called reference book. And the reference book, like encyclopedias, you cannot check it out of the library. You just need to take the reference, read it in the library, and put it back on the shelf. You cannot take it for granted or take it home. Now, that's one mean, a library. Another thing is the computer, Google. Another thing, magazine. Another thing, another way is reading newspaper. You have so many different ways to do a research. And as a homework, as I was saying, I would want you to look for the topic ants. So we have, the ant is an animal. It's an insect. Okay, sorry, it's not an animal, it's an insect. Why don't you just try to get out as much information as you can about how ants tend to live? Because your new topic would be the life and time of ants. So I thought of giving you heads up by making a research about this topic. So try to use whatever means possible to research the topic ants. Ask your parents to take a picture while you do the research, whether you choose to read from a magazine, a library, internet, take a picture and support your research with a picture to show your work. Okay?
Talk about it. Think about a time you researched the topic. What steps did you take? What resources did you find? Share your story with a partner. Then discuss with your partner how your experiences were alike and different.
Okay, that of course should happen in class, but because now we can't cope with classroom, I want you to just do the research, take the steps like first, next, second, discuss it with a partner on the phone or WhatsApp group, whatever you choose, and just send it to me on the class dojo. Okay? Now, let's go to the lesson itself. Now, let's discuss this cover page. As you see the cover page, the story, it's called Dear Mr. Winston, and it's from When I Went to the Library. So obviously, we have a character called Mr. Winston. Now, what type of text is it? Well, the genre here, it's a realistic fiction, as you will hear. Now, remember realistic fiction stories that we have studied through over the year. We have taken, yeah, tell me, the first lesson ever, what was it? This lesson was a realistic fiction. Okay, so realistic fiction has to do with real character, real topic, real setting. You get to feel like real. It's like the story that we have taken before, yes, because of Winn-Dixie. And because of Winn-Dixie was a realistic fiction, and it happened to have the same setting, which is a library. And how do I know the setting is a library? Because I can see it here in front of you in under the big title, From When I Went to the Library. So I understand it's like because of Winn-Dixie, a realistic fiction, a real character taking place, a real setting, and perhaps a real plot, a plot that's doable. Okay? So why don't we listen to it?
Lesson 9. Anchor text. Genre. Realistic fiction has characters and events that are like people and events in real life. As you read, look for a setting that is familiar to most readers, characters who have feelings that real people have, challenges and problems that might happen in real life.
Okay. The setting as well. We know that most of introduction should contain setting, characters, and a plot. Now, the setting of this story, as you will get to know, is library, of course, since the title refers to it, and home. So, library and home, they look familiar. Anyone can, guess what you might be doing in a library because it just can happen to anyone. It's real, it's a fact, it's coming from your own experience. Now, the illustrations are the drawing that you see. We'll talk about this soon, but as you see the illustration, we have a little girl holding a box in here, and this little girl, she looks like a little bit sad. So, you have a girl, and you will know how she feels. Probably that's a real feeling. Now, the situation in the story again could happen in real life. So I can tell that the story is a realistic fiction based on all these evidence. Now, let's meet the author and meet the illustrator because as you see, the picture look kind of funny, so it's a little bit of cartoonist pictures. We will read them and then illustrate.
Meet the author, Ken Roberts. Like Mr. Winston, Ken Roberts is a librarian. He also writes books and plays and is a storyteller. I am good at many things, he says, but a master at none, really. Sometimes he works on many projects at once. At other times, he reads quietly by the fireside. Meet the illustrator, Andy Hammond. Andy Hammond has been a busy cartoonist for more than 30 years. He works in pen and ink and watercolor, often finishing his work on the computer. His favorite cartooning jobs are the ones that let him use his own style and allow his sense of humor to run free.
We have discussed so many times how the author tends to reflect about their own personal life. So here, Mr. Robinson, or Roberts, sorry, he used to be a librarian himself. So when he chose the setting of his topic, he chose obviously what he's most familiar with, which is a library. And the illustrator, the person who's drawing the picture, he is kind of a cartoonist. He's like funny drawings and make it sense of humor. Now, humor is the third term, literary term that I want you to understand today. And humor is when you make something fun for the reader. Now, you have to set a purpose. Why are you reading the story? What do you want to figure out throughout reading the story? So you will find out with a sense of humor, with a funny sense that makes you want to read more and more. Okay? So that's it for today. We will elaborate more of this front page. We will discuss it more, but that's in the next video. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that this video was useful. Thank you.